Hey everyone, this is Mike here at the QuiverCast. Special offer for you all. The Endless Summer box set. It's written by Dana Brown and signed by Bruce Brown. This is such a killer deal. Go on to theendlesssummerbook.com. Check it out. Hey everybody, welcome to the QuiverCast.
You go left, I go right. Man, this wave is out of sight. Going surfing, going surfing, going surfing with
All right, welcome everyone back to the QuiverCast, and I am so stoked. Today we have Neal Purchase Jr. How are you doing, Neal?
Yeah, going great, mate. Had my little surf and a boost of electrons and salt water, and feeling good. So had a nice surf just down the road at the boulders. There's a lot of people around on saying it's holidays, but yeah, managed to get a couple of nice little dreamy, sparkly waves.
All right. Okay, let's start right there. A lot of people say you are one of the best backside tube riders, and I've seen lots of videos of you just killing it. Is that one of your favorite things to do? Get barrel backside?
Yeah, I mean, you know, like I guess every surfer knows the feeling, you know, to quote Gordon Merchant from Billabong. But yeah, it's definitely the pinnacle of surfing, and if that's all I could do if I surfed, and you know, if that comes to the point of time, you know, in my older age, I'll jump on a belly board and get barrel. It doesn't matter how you do it. Obviously, if you have certain techniques to help you adapt to getting tubed, then good on you. Yeah.
Right on. So, do you remember your first backside tube or just your first tube in general?
Well, my first tube I remember really clearly at Rainbow Bay on the front of my dad's 8-foot mini mal.
Wow.
I was probably 4 or so, and he got a wave that doubled up through Rainbow Bay, just down from Snapper Rocks. Yeah, he was standing at the back, and I was getting tubed at the front. But I got a couple of little tubes when I was learning at Greenmount in my, you know, I was probably 12 or whatever, you know, just some quick in and outs. But my first proper one I was probably 15 or 16 at Kira.
Wow.
And it was after school. And my dad and my sister were on the point at Kira there, just jumped out of my school uniform and went out. And this, probably, it was only 3 or 4 foot, but there wasn't many people out. It's like one of those swells that pick up in the RV and southeast wind on it, a little bit of bump, but got like I think it was at least having my dad and my sister go, it was like a 9-10 second tube. So
Wow.
I was, yeah, that was kind of like, okay, something happened then on that wave where I was like, something's clicked and I've got it, you know. So from that point onwards, it became natural for me just to do that, to hunt tubes and all that sort of stuff.
Did that help you in competitions and stuff when a lot of kids were probably doing turns?
Yeah, I won the Jesus 88 at I was 17. That was the first contest. I beat Munga Barry in the final, and I got tubed every wave.
Yeah.
On the back end. So that was a pretty big contest then, like probably like a Pro-Am contest now or a WQS or something. That was, I'm not a competitive surfer, but yeah, there was a time probably in my teens where I was pursuing that. Yeah, and yeah, had a little bit of success, but wasn't really my forte.
So why didn't you like competition?
My whole thing is I compete against myself to be the best I can be, and I don't really care about anyone else.
Okay, fair.
I think we're all on the same level anyways, whereas competition separates us and puts some people on a pedestal and others lower. So, yeah, I'm not really into that. You know, I love seeing competitive surfing to a point that I just don't want to be involved in it. It probably brings out the worst in me too. You know, I'm a pretty mellow guy, but there was a few times where I'd come in and snap fins out and punch boards and all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, nah, that's not me. I'll leave that one behind and pursue other things. There's plenty of other things on this planet to do, you know. So,
of course. Do you remember how long the period was for you pursuing the competition? It was quite a few years.
Yeah, it was kind of the junior thing. I think I got third at the Pro Junior at Narrabeen. Bevo won it that year. I don't even know what year that was. I won a contest and got to see Occy and all, Ronnie Burns and all the Billabong crew, David Cantrell, Munga Barry, Ralph Pullinger, Rabbit, Occy. So that was the footage from Occy in black and white. So I was stoked to win that and get over there to G-Land and witness Occy with his one rusty poison durfer that had been broken 3 times and fixed up. And that was the only board he had. It was like a 510 from memory. It's tail. And he was surfing, you know, between 6 to 8 foot G-Land on that thing, and just unbelievable surfing. But getting back to the competitive thing, I was competitive. I started surfing in Kira Board Riders. Darren Hanley was running that the Kira Board Riders. He was the president at the time, and I was probably 15, and then I probably quit by the time I was officially kind of just went nah by the time I was 18.
Wow, okay.
Maybe 18 or 19. I was working at Billabong as a graphic designer at that time, and I remember telling them when I was working there, I'm not going in contests, and I was sort of like, oh, well, you know, just keep doing your work here, working with Gordon Merchant and all the boys there, with a good friend of mine, Jamie Costaglis, who's a graphic designer, a year older than me. And I sort of pursued the creative side a little bit more.
Wow, okay.
So, yeah.
So going backwards even further, your dad's a good surfer too, a great surfer, and he's a shaper. What did he think about you in competition? Did he want you in them or didn't care?
Yeah, he was pretty pro. It was the 80s, you know, so it was kind of like he had gone through the 60s and 70s and seen the wild counterculture side of things, and then it became, turned into professionalism in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And I was somewhere in between. Dad was real pro, like, you know, you can get somewhere, your life will be great if you do this, this, and this. And he could just see I think coming from his time period, the benefits of competition and what it could, you know, things in life it can bring you, lots of travel, a bit of cash and, you know, whatever. But, yeah, he was probably a little bit deflated that I didn't pursue it more. And he was got a bit coachy there for a while, you know. I was like, you know, not to the point that you see crew these days with the young kids yelling from the beach, but he had a whistle. He was, every time a set would come, he'd whistle, you know.
That's awesome.
You know, and he didn't really just hand boards over to me. He sort of gave me, when I was sort of into skateboarding stuff more than surfing when I was 10, 11, 12. And then he sort of gave me a few second-hand boards to ride here and there. But when I got the bug, he still didn't just hand me boards, you know. So eventually, you know, I was 15, 16, 17, I was sort of sponsored and pushing all that. And I was going through a lot of boards then, for sure.
Were you riding your dad's equipment at that time or other people's boards?
Yeah, exclusively, really. I was riding bigger, flatter boards with bigger fins than most people.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, no, we got to, you know, build your legs up. You got to learn how to turn, you know. So his whole thing was power surfing and not flicky, easy, tricky stuff, you know. He was like, really loved the the current MP kind of vibes. So it was all power surfing. So yeah, that's, it definitely probably did affect the way I surfed and learned to push my boards pretty hard.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Did you ever have, and I don't want to get between you and your dad and all that, but did you ever have thoughts of, or did you ever try anybody else's equipment?
I would swap out in the surf a couple of guys' boards. Not much. I kind of had a lot of faith in what we were doing, and we would talk about it a lot and design. And even though I wasn't shaping those at that time, he was, I think, a really gifted, intelligent craftsman that had spent a lot of time working out the dynamics of water and boards and things that work and things that don't work, and a whole set of characteristics that we put in all the boards, and I was all for it, So,
Okay.
yeah, like I said before, I'd ride other people's boards and they were really loose and small, a couple of inches smaller. I was probably riding 6'2", 6'3", 6'4" when I was 16, 17,
Wow.
They were light. We had Blackie glassing them. He's a classic Queensland champion from the 60s and 70s, and a really good glasser, lots of styrene in there, and I'd always break them in front of the fins where the sander would hit the rovings and sand a bit too much out, and I can guarantee you get a crease in every board in front of the fins. But they were always really light. Dad was always into light equipment. He was riding epoxies, styrene constructions in the 70s.
Oh, okay.
Glassing them himself using just, whatever foam he could grab. He was pretty ahead of his time in the 70s, I reckon, as far as construction, and then sort of worked on his design elements that were pretty solid and sensible, I would say.
Was your dad taking you in the shaping bay and showing you what he was doing, or how did you learn how to shape?
Yeah, I was sort of there all the time. Dad was shaping. Because he was right next to Burford's and there's heaps of concrete, Dad would take me in and I'd ride my skateboard. Darren Burford had a half pipe across the road and I'd muck around on that. But then I'd go and watch him, and I was pretty intrigued. I was a little bit disturbed by how toxic and dusty and sweaty and all of that was. And then he'd be in my ear going, "Mate, don't ever do this."
Oh, really?
This is a pretty hard job. It's very fickle. It's, it's based on lots of instability, and, 1 minute you're hot, then you're not, and this and that. And you got orders and you got no orders, and then you're scraping, getting other jobs to make ends meet. Dad did a bit of building work. He was doing milk runs on the side. He's working at Bedford's doing glue ups with Alan Burns and Michael Peterson.
Wow.
But getting back to watching him shape, I reckon I've spent, thousands of hours watching him shape from a young age. So I kind of had a pretty good grasp of what he was doing pretty early on in my teens and stuff. And I would shape some boards. I've had a go in my teens. I found it really difficult after seeing how agile he was with the planer and how easy he made it look, In my 20s, I probably did a dozen or so boards for myself and my mates, and sort of came up with a few principles of running the concaves forward into the nose rocker a touch more than what Dad was doing. A couple of mini mals for mates, but it wasn't until my late 20s, early 30s that I got the bug. Kind of got over the dusty, dirty thing, and was more intrigued in design than in the elements of it, So
you said you shaped yourself a couple boards here and there. Do you remember riding your first board that you shaped?
Yeah. I think Dad might have even, the very first one I shaped, I think Dad roughed it out, thicknessed it.
Okay.
I just sort of finished it off and put a few little elements in there that I was keen to put in. And I've been lucky that way. Everything I've done has definitely felt pretty good. I've never really had an idea and put it into foam, and it's been an absolute dud, you know. So,
Okay. Yeah.
so they've generally been okay. And I know that theory, the whole theory thing, can get away with you, and sometimes they don't work. And I think it's been the surface shaper practical, having a go at something, getting the idea out, getting it into foam and into manifesting it, trying it, and then going from there. The theory thing works to a certain point. But yeah, been lucky that way. Most of the theories come through pretty good, how they're meant to.
Still staying back in the early teens or late teens for you. Everyone else is riding different equipment almost. Were any of your buddies getting boards shaped from your dad, or was your dad mostly shaping? Were you his team rider kind of thing?
Yeah, we were really tight. He was doing boards for Robbie Cohen, all sorts of guys. I think he did a couple for Glenn Winton. He was kind of like a production shaper for local knowledge, hot stuff. All of the guys sort of, San Juan in Byron in the 80s. So he was sort of getting the numbers through for all those guys.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I had a few mates like Chris Jack was a good friend of mine. He surfed just like Occy. He won a whole bunch of contests and then sort of just got, had a family and just sort of didn't pursue surfing as much.
Yeah.
But he was an amazing surfer. Dad was doing lots of boards for him as well. Dick Bartlett, lots of local guys. All the crew would get him to get the numbers up in the shops because a lot of the other shapers, would spend more time on boards and only be able to probably do 5 to 10 a week max. You know, where Dad would do 5 to 8 a day.
Oh, wow. Shit.
Quite easily, yeah.
Okay.
He's the human shaping machine. So I've had big boots to fill, but I've gotten over that. Yeah, it's, that the whole thing with design and shaping, I'm feeling pretty confident and have been for a while that, I've kind of got my things sorted as well. So I can do, I've done 8 boards in a day. When I go away, I don't like doing it very often because it's emotionally and physically stressful, but I would prefer to enjoy life and do other things as well instead of being locked in the room, No,
100%. First off, you rip on those things. Your surfing today is phenomenal still. And your style, I love your style personally. And I think a lot of people do. On your website, it says it's a small family business. It basically kind of says, I don't know, maybe I'm putting it in my own words, but it says it's an art form kind of thing you're saying. It takes time. Am I correct? Yeah. Am I saying it right?
Yeah, it is. I'm not interested in high productions.
Right. There you go.
So I want to contribute. It's my little contribution to surfing. It's from my angle, coming through my hands and my set of boundaries and philosophies, I guess, and you're passing on feelings through boards onto other people to enjoy the ocean. So that's kind of where I'm at. When I did sort of go into it full time in my 30s, the only reason why I really did get involved is because no one else was doing boards like that at the time. Mm-hmm. And even sort of walking the board to the glasses, and people are going, "What the fuck's that?" It's like, I mean, in today's standards, they look really normal, but at that time, like in the early 2000s, they were kind of like really like a mix of retro and all sorts of hybrid ideas. So it's they didn't feel wacky to me, but I think for someone who was on the treadmill doing 6-month thrusters, they were pretty out of the box. So,
yes.
And that didn't serve me at all anymore. After sort of surfing them for so long, I wanted to explore other possibilities. So, yeah.
Do you remember kind of going outside the box of what everyone at the mainstream was shaping? And how did your boards feel to you?
I thought they were more practical for my body shape because I'm a bigger guy, 90. I was around 90 kilos, 6'1". I mean, Dad and I were on that process through the 90s, the late 90s anyway.
Mm-hmm.
5 years he was shaping. He didn't want to veer from the refined set of thresholds that they worked out with thrusters too much either, because they put so much work into it.
Mm-hmm.
And people were surfing amazing on them. And I sort of retrograded into certain other areas, and it kind of spun Dad out a bit, even though he was the perfect guy to work with on that, because he'd been through all those periods as well.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to flash out some other ideas where people making drivier twin fins, when the only twin fins I rode around that period were really loose and really squirrely. And then the 2+1s, the quads, all the Californian influence from San Diego, Steve Bliss and all that sort of stuff was filtering through in tiny bits and pieces. So I was really interested in just something that paddled better, flatter rockers, more foam and more speed, but control with speed. So
yes,
I just found it extremely interesting anyways, of being a surfer and looking into that, and then finding a few feelings where it's going, oh man, this is unreal. This is the shit, you know?
Well, let me ask you this, and maybe you cannot answer this, but okay, just because you're such a good surfer, but do you feel like because of your boards, it helps you get more waves?
Oh, for sure. I'm putting lower entry rockers in the top 2/3, you know, like behind the 1 foot mark from the nose. You know, you can tweak that last foot of the nose and it won't make much difference, but from, you know, the next foot to 3 foot is a huge area for paddling. Benefits, the thickness, the foil through that area is a huge, you know, you make a little bit thicker, because modern boards, the thickest point of the board was behind the center point.
Yes.
I've thrown it to the center forward, you know. So for bigger guys with bigger chests and all that sort of stuff, that really helps. And then also having a little bit of thickness around the stringer in the tail with thinner rails really helps too with paddling and picking up waves, wider tails. Yeah, so it's, you know, as a shaper and also as just being a surfer with my dad, we would sort of talk about this quite often, you know, the dynamics of foam in surfing, you know, so how, you know, what helps, what doesn't.
Yeah. So this is the other one that fascinates me, and I've never touched one of your boards in real life, but looking at pictures and videos, the fin placements on your boards, how important is that? And do you experiment?
Hugely important. It changes the whole board. You almost design the board around the fins. I mean, you got your principles of, you know, your board for a single fin to a twin fin to a thruster. The boards, the foam distribution, the rocker, the foil, the bottom shape, especially the rails, all designed around the fins and the fin placement. And that's, I think, where we've come forward with the twin fins. You know, a lot of shapers these days have got a better idea of a practical twin fin for general conditions, as opposed to the 70s twins that MR's done, you know, his amazing work there. And everyone's got their set of thresholds of how they want the boards to go. So I wasn't into twin fins at all, probably until the 2000s.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah, I think the first twin fin that I actually liked was it was a Richie Pavel keel fish that actually got Youngie got me onto it. It was drivey and felt good on your backhand, and it was like, you can't ride twin fins on your backhand. That was the general thing, or you can't ride single fins on your backhand. We know you can now with added tail lift and curve in the outline and specific rails and bottom shapes and fin placement as well. So,
who is your customer? Do you do most of them custom shapes, or do you know, can you buy them off the racks? Like, who's mostly buying your boards?
Mostly custom. Okay. Yeah, all my work probably 90% custom, but I've probably got half a dozen shops.
Yep.
I've got shops in Japan that have really helped me out and got stock boards and custom orders for me. Ride, Surf and Sport, and then Chill Out. They've been sort of guys that have really supported my boards. And then Geta Surf Shop in Sunshine have been amazing. And we've got Wild Things in Byron, Sunburnt Mess in Bondi. But, yeah, I mean, you know, I send them a limited amount of stock, you know, but generally, yeah, I'm doing custom orders and talking to the customer, working out what they want to do, how they want to surf, what conditions they want to surf it in, sending them photos of the shape blank and the process, and just sort of following through with all of that. So,
does the customer know what they want, or do you guys talk it out and you figure it out? Like, if he's a front foot surfer or like a heavy back foot, like,
yeah, basically, they've got an idea. They like the look of a certain model or something, and then we go about manipulating that into something that's going to suit them for the conditions that they want to surf it in. You know, so it's going to be a different board if it's a groveler or a step up, or obviously, and then the way they surf, if they're, you know, like traditional surfing or high performance surfing or cruising. Usually the cruisers are front foot surfers, and the guys that like giving a good whack in the pocket are back foot surfers. You really do have to compensate for that. The funny thing with me is I'm kind of both. I'm a front foot surfer, but I do lean on my back foot.
Yeah, on your turns.
My back foot back. Yeah.
You got some big turns.
Yeah, I like a bit of both. I don't like.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like, you know, that's it. That's just my dad, my old school big thrusters still in the nerves, in my legs, still wanting a piece of it. So.
That's awesome. How many boards do you have in your personal quiver? How many boards do you choose from daily? Like,
I probably only have 6 or 8.
Okay.
I've got some longer ones. I don't surf as much. I pull them out when it's smaller or certain conditions, and then I'm sort of like in my car right now. I've probably got 4 boards, and it's usually stuff I'm just tweaking and working on and getting sorted and passing ideas through. Yeah.
Are they all 4 differently boards? Like, so you look at the conditions and then you pick the board, or do you have a board in mind you want to surf before?
Yeah, a bit of both. I get locked into certain designs sometimes. I sort of went on a single fin sabbatical there for a couple of years just because. But, just trying to work that out, you know, because that takes a lot of foam elements to make them work, because you're using your rails as the driving point as opposed to the fin. I've sort of got general all-rounders, and I know a lot of people just want to ride one board, and you can really have a board that works from 2 to 5 foot or 2 to 6 foot, and you can have a board that's going to perform really well in all that sort of stuff these days. That's not a thruster, even though a thruster is kind of a no-brainer as well. But I think other fin designs can have better elements in certain conditions than a thruster, although thrusters are really dependable in most conditions, but not amazing in some.
If someone comes in to talk to you, do you ever suggest a single fin?
I would usually suggest the board that I'm feeling the most stoke on in the point of time that they're around. And
got it.
You know, so I love single fins, and I love their place in surfing, and they iron out people's styles. They simplify everything. They simplify your approach to the waves. So you learn a lot on a single fin, and I think, you know, it's probably an awesome thing to have in any quiver. But my most stoke at the moment is probably on twin fins or dual twins, duos, you know, that kind of thing. The simplest version of something that gets away quick and controls the speed, you know?
Yeah. How do you keep fit? Like, so we're all getting older. I'm getting older. You're getting older.
Yep.
How do you keep fit, and how do you keep surfing so well?
Well, I've been pretty conscious on that lately because I'm 53.
Yep.
You know, I've probably felt invincible and abused myself at certain times in my life, not to a hectic point, but, you know, just enjoying a few beers and this and that, and going, you know, seeing bands and and then surfing all day and then working and, just sort of,
Living
burning
life.
it at both ends. Living life pretty full.
Yeah, good.
Oh no, it's all been positive and amazing. But I think as you get older, you probably need to be aware of how your body reacts to that. I mean, fair enough. If you can do that and it doesn't hinder your energy levels, then go for it. It's unreal. It can be inspiring, and a lot of amazing times and things have come out of that. Yeah, I probably don't drink much anymore. I'd love to have a beer with the boys and that every now and then, probably maybe even once a month or something, where it used to be on a weekly basis.
Mm-hmm.
Doing the breathing every morning, doing the Wim Hof inspired 30 breaths, exhale, and then do a bunch of push-ups.
Mm.
Do that a few times, do 3 rounds of that. It's really helped me with my breathing in the surf, because I was finding if I wasn't surfing, even for a few days or a week or something, I would go in the surf, and if it had a bit of size to it, I'd be like puffing and struggling to catch my breath.
Yeah, I know that.
So, yeah, and your equipment can help so much, but then it gets to a point where, hang on, I just need to do something about this. So that was what I do. Take a bit of magnesium and potassium supplement, greens, alkalizing greens. I've sort of looked into a lot, and yeah, I do feel a benefit. I've been blessed anyways. I still feel pretty young, and the one thing, I haven't got any injuries either. The injuries can set you back a long way. So
yes.
It's been good, yeah. So just a normal diet, meat and a little bit of meat, lots of veggies, lots of fresh food. And generally, I think the biggest thing is the breathing has really helped me.
Mm-hmm.
And then not drinking as much has really made a big impact on me too. So
yeah.
So it depends what you want to do. Do you want to go surfing or you want to party? So it gets to a point.
Yes.
It gets harder to do both. So yeah, I'd prefer to be up early and catch the sunrise and get some waves, and yeah,
nice.
That's how these days anyway.
Yeah. How many hours a week do you surf?
Depending on the conditions, if on just general conditions, I'll probably have an hour surf in the morning before I go to work.
Okay.
And then if it's good, do a bit of work and then sort of cut it early and go for another surf, or those odd surf trips and all that sort of stuff. But it's generally, I like kind of the vibe I'm in, getting some work done and getting some surfing in the morning as well.
I know you've traveled all over the world. What's one of your favorite places to surf?
My favorite places to surf, I've had amazing waves in Japan.
Wow. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, I've done a lot of trips to Japan when I was young with Dad, and then also after that fact. And sort of some of the river mouths there are amazing. Obviously Indo, and then I got into cold water surfing there in the early 2000s for a while, just with the crowd factor and the beauty of pristine sort of remote places is nice too. So New Zealand's a great one for that.
Yeah.
That's it. And then sort of just this the good thing about where I live here in the northern New South Wales is everything's accessible,
yeah,
easy to surf, pretty consistent. And I kind of like that. So that's why we're here.
Awesome. Social media, do you like it?
I've got a love-hate relationship. I love the information side of it. I think we're in a information-rich time. It's nice to know what people are doing. I never get it's not a FOMO thing, or it's more of a learning thing for me. I'm not really into it. I actually really cherish the days we didn't have phones, and it was just like in the moment. You feel like you had all the time in the world. No one could contact you. I love that, and I still do that to a point. So I'm not really hugely engaged in all of it, but I do have to be. And you see that I'm posting stuff every day or every second day or whatever. I'm not really trying to focus on it too much, but I feel like as running a business, it's a practical part of a business. So
Yes.
if I didn't have a business, if I was working for someone, I'd be lucky to get a few hours a week on it, It's a necessary thing. You could call it whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it is what it is, and it doesn't bother me. It annoys me sometimes, and I don't like what it's done to the younger generation and how it's changed people's values and all sorts of stuff. And just the bullshit, where people aren't enjoying the moment, they're sort of locked on their phones or filming themselves doing stupid stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, but then at the same time, I haven't got any huge kind of feelings towards it either. It's a little bit annoying at times, but necessary, I guess.
And you have a daughter. How many kids do you have? Just one daughter?
I got 3 daughters.
Oh, you have 3 daughters. Okay.
Yeah, we had Cedar, my first, when I was 24, and we had 2 more, so
Yep.
3 all up.
Yep.
And we're all real close, and I love my girls, and my wife and I are just love our girls and time together. We're kind of gone through that parental stage. We're always offering help or information if they need it, but they're adults now. So
Yeah, growing up.
they're all grown up, and they're doing amazingly, doing their own stuff, inspiring things in this world now. That's great to see. I'm proud of them, love them to death.
Yeah, that's awesome. So do they all surf? Or I know your one daughter surfs. I saw her video.
Yeah, I never pushed that
Yep.
on them, and Dad never pushed it on me either. That's why I was probably later, probably took me into my teens. So I was a bit stronger then too, the sea can be intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of people that tried to get their kids in early. And it's
a lot nowadays.
Yeah, it scares them, They can end up sort of messing with them a little bit, I reckon, because they're letting their parents down when the parents want them to surf, and then they don't really enjoy it. So there's that issue. But all my girls surf a little bit. Monty is surfing more than most and has probably taken to it more.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jetta surfs occasionally, and then Cedar a little bit less frequent. Again, they're more into creative kind of stuff.
Yeah. It's just kind of cool. 3rd generation surfers. So I kind of dig the family vibe of surfers. So
Yeah, no, they're great. Yeah, well, but Monty's definitely got some dreams in there. Sort of, I guess that's why she's surfing, because it came a little bit easier for her.
Mm-hmm.
And I know when Dad chucked me on a board, I kind of stood up straight away and was adaptable to those conditions.
Yeah.
Some people, just gravitate towards that more than others. There's always those natural influences. They got the natural feeling towards those things.
Neal Purchase Jr., thank you so much for coming on the QuiverCast. It's very exciting. I've really enjoyed our talk, so thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it.
No worries, mate. Too easy.
Yeah. So this is Mike and Neal, and we're out of here.
Right. Man, this wave is out of sight. Going surfing. Going surfing. Going surfing with friends. Ride this wave to the shore. Paddle out, I'm gonna catch 10 more. Going surfing. Going surfing. Going surfing with friends. I don't care if it's wrong or right. I'm gonna do it all day, I'm gonna do it all night. I'm going surfing. Going surfing. Going surfing with friends. On my way, it's a beautiful day. I'm going surfing. I'm going surfing. Going surfing with friends. Woo!
Hey, you guys, Endless Summer box set. This thing is legit. It's authentic. numbered certificate in it. It has a 5-frame film strip from the original print. You literally own a piece of history. It has a specially minted bronze medallion. Dude, that thing's sick. Okay, there's so much more here. Go to the show notes. There's a link on there. Go check this piece of history out. This thing's rad. Seriously. Smithsonian American History Museum has it. It took 4 years of research with 3.5 in production, all hand assembled. This thing's rad. So much to this awesome box set. Remastered DVD, sharper images than the original film, but dude, this thing's so sick. Link in the show notes.